A millionaire walks into his mansion earlier than expected, only to find his wife towering over his crying daughter. What happens in the next few minutes will change their lives forever. Stay with me, because this story is full of secrets, betrayal, and a twist you won't see coming. The tall grandfather clock in the marble foyer ticked towards 3 p.m. when Richard Collins's black Rolls-Royce purred into the driveway of his Los Angeles estate. He wasn't expected home until evening. The board meeting had ended early, giving him hours he hadn't planned for. Sometimes he enjoyed coming home unannounced. Other times, that same instinct carried an edge of dread he couldn't explain. His gut rarely lied. As he climbed the wide stone steps, a sound froze him mid-stride. A child's cry. Not just any cry, the helpless sob of his 7-year-old daughter Amelia. The sound squeezed his chest tighter than any business deal ever could. Then came another sound. A sharp female voice cutting like broken glass. "You stupid little burden! Look what you've done to my rug. Do you think money grows on trees? Worthless, just like your real mother." Richard's blood ran cold. That was Victoria, his wife of 2 years. He had married her, believing she would be the warm stepmother Amelia needed after losing her biological mother to illness. But hearing her now shattered that belief. Amelia's voice trembled between sobs. "I'm sorry, Mommy Victoria. I didn't mean to spill it. I just slipped while reaching for my water cup." Every word pierced Richard deeper. Amelia was small for her age, her skin a smooth cocoa shade that reminded him of her late mother's beauty. Her bright smile usually lit up rooms, but now she sounded like a child, begging just to be spared. He stormed through the double doors, and the sight before him made his stomach churn. Amelia sat crumpled on the polished floor beside an overturned glass, her tiny body shaking uncontrollably. Her curls clung to her tear-stained cheeks. Scattered nearby were her crutches, painted pink and decorated with butterfly stickers. Towering above her stood Victoria, elegant in a silk dress and pearls, but her face twisted in cruelty. Arms folded, lips curled in disdain. She looked down at the girl with eyes that held no love. "Victoria," Richard's voice thundered, rattling the crystal glasses on the bar. "What in God's name is happening here?" She spun around, shock flashing across her pale face before she quickly masked it with sweetness. "Darling, you're early." Amelia just had a little accident with her drink. "I was only teaching her to be careful around expensive things." Richard's eyes dropped to Amelia. Her brown eyes were swollen from crying, her hands trembling as she reached toward him. "Daddy, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." He knelt and gathered her into his arms. She flinched when he touched her wrist, and that small recoil broke him. Pulling back her sleeve, he saw faint red marks circling her delicate skin, as if someone had gripped her too hard, too often. Richard turned, fury simmering. How long has this been going on?" Victoria's face paled, but her voice stayed smooth. "I don't know what you're implying. Children with limitations need firm discipline. If you baby her, she'll never survive in the real world." The word limitations made Richard's jaw tighten. Amelia had been born with a rare condition that weakened her leg muscles, forcing her to use crutches. Yet her mind was extraordinary. At only 7, she read like a teenager and solved math problems that left her tutors astonished. Now she buried her face into his shoulder and whispered, "Daddy, I'm scared of making her mad again." Those words lit a fire inside him. He looked at Victoria, not as his wife, but as the stranger she truly was. "Pack your bags. You're leaving this house within the hour." Victoria's mask cracked. "You can't be serious." "Over her little tantrums? She manipulates you, Richard. She spills things on purpose to steal your attention." But Richard wasn't listening. He carried Amelia upstairs, each step steady and deliberate. Behind him, Victoria's voice rose in desperation. "You'll regret this, Richard Collins. You're throwing away everything we built. That child will ruin your life the way her mother did." The venom in her tone chilled him. Amelia clung tighter, as if the words had cut deeper than a slap. In her pink-painted bedroom, Richard laid Amelia on the bed, gently brushing damp curls from her forehead. "You're safe now, my angel," he whispered. But deep down he knew this was only the beginning. Downstairs, Victoria's angry footsteps echoed like a storm. His instincts screamed. She was hiding darker secrets, secrets tied not just to Amelia's mistreatment, but perhaps even to the final days of Amelia's late mother. Hours later, while Amelia slept fitfully under the nanny's care, Richard sat in his study, speaking in hushed tones on the phone. His longtime security chief, James Porter, answered immediately. "I need a full background check on Victoria Hastings Collins. Not the surface check from 2 years ago. I want everything, family, history, records, all of it." James hesitated. "Sir, when you proposed, we did run her. She came up clean. Wealthy family background, Connecticut roots. Dig deeper," Richard cut him off. "And James, investigate the night my wife Sarah passed away. Victoria was there. I want to know everything." Silence stretched on the line. "Do you believe she had something to do with Sarah's death, sir?" Richard's grip tightened on the phone. He remembered Victoria's mocking words, "You have no idea what you're throwing away." The way she had spat Amelia's existence like poison. "I don't know yet," he said grimly. "But something doesn't add up. I want every detail." "Spare no expense." After hanging up, Richard went to check on Amelia. She was awake, staring at the ceiling, her eyes unusually thoughtful. "Can't sleep, Angel?" he asked softly. Amelia turned, her small hand reaching for his. "Daddy, I need to tell you something important. But you have to promise you won't be upset." Richard sat beside her and kissed her forehead. "I could never be upset with you, sweetheart." "What is it?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I've heard Victoria say mean things about Mommy Sarah. She says Mommy was weak and stupid, and that I'll end up the same because I have her blood." Rage flared inside Richard, but he kept his tone calm. "And what do you think, Amelia?" Her lips trembled, but her eyes shone with clarity. "I think Victoria is scared of something. People only say cruel things when they're hiding secrets." Richard's heart swelled with both pride and grief. His little girl was far wiser than any child should have to be. "Daddy." Amelia hesitated, then went on. "Sometimes when I'm supposed to nap, I hear her on the phone. She says things about money, papers, and making sure something stays hidden forever." Richard's pulse quickened. "Do you remember anything else?" "She said the name Blackwood a lot. And once she mentioned Mommy Sarah's will. She said that woman thought she was smart. We'll see who laughs last." Richard stiffened. Sarah's will had left everything to Amelia until she turned 25, with Richard as trustee. Victoria received nothing. "Daddy," Amelia whispered again. "Sometimes late at night I hear her in your office. She looks through your safe and Mommy's jewelry box. She takes pictures with her phone." A cold realization swept over him. That box contained not just Sarah's jewelry, but also personal letters and the key to a safety deposit box he had never opened. Before he could respond, Amelia added one last revelation. "I also heard her once call herself Victoria Blackwood. Not Collins, not Hastings, Blackwood." The name hit him like a hammer. Who was this woman he had let into their lives? At that moment, footsteps creaked downstairs. The maid had left hours ago. Amelia's eyes widened. "Daddy." "She's back." Richard stood, every protective instinct blazing. "Stay here, lock the door, and don't open it for anyone but me." As he stepped into the hallway, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number glowed on the screen. "Checking up on your precious little girl. Some secrets are too dangerous to uncover. Ask about Sarah's deposit box, if you dare." Richard's hands shook. It wasn't just abuse anymore. Victoria's game was bigger, darker, and deadly. And Amelia's safety, and maybe even Sarah's memory, depended on uncovering the truth. The house was silent except for the storm outside. Richard pocketed his phone, his pulse hammering. The text wasn't a bluff. Victoria was still inside. Her heels clicked on the marble as she appeared at the base of the stairs, calm as though nothing had happened. "Going somewhere, darling?" she asked with a thin smile. "Get out," Richard growled. She tilted her head, eyes glinting. "Oh, Richard, you still don't understand. You think this is about tantrums and spilled drinks. This," she waved a hand around the mansion, "is about power. And you are standing in the way." He clenched his fists, resisting the urge to drag her out by force. Amelia came first. Violence would only fuel Victoria's twisted games. "Whatever you're hiding," he said, voice tight, "I'll uncover it. I'll protect my daughter. You won't touch this family again." Her smirk widened. "We'll see." Perfume trailed behind her as she brushed past him and disappeared into the storm. The following morning, Richard sat in his study across from Detective Rachel Myers, a sharp-eyed investigator with a stack of files between them. "Mr. Collins," she began, "I've reviewed Amelia's therapist notes and teacher reports. The signs are consistent: months of emotional abuse, increased anxiety, withdrawal, hypervigilance." Richard's jaw tightened. "I should have seen it sooner." "Abusers hide their tracks," Myers said. She opened another file. "There's more. You mentioned Victoria calling herself Blackwood. That makes sense. Victoria Hastings doesn't exist. The name belonged to a Connecticut woman who died 5 years ago. Your wife assumed her identity. Her real name is Victoria Blackwood, a former nurse. Her license was revoked after multiple suspicious patient deaths. No charges stuck, but there were too many coincidences." Richard's blood chilled. "And Sarah?" Myers hesitated. "Your first wife's oncologist, Dr. Reynolds, remembers her symptoms worsening unnaturally fast in her final weeks. He said Victoria often brought teas and supplements. The timing doesn't sit right with him." Memories cut through Richard. Sarah weak in bed, Victoria hovering with a smile that had seemed so kind. His voice dropped to a rasp. "I think she poisoned my wife." That night, Richard found Amelia awake in bed, clutching her stuffed bear. "Daddy," she whispered, "there's more." He sat beside her. "Tell me, sweetheart." "When Victoria thought I was asleep, she talked on the phone with a man named Richard. Not you. She said he owed her for a hospital fire. She said if he didn't help, she'd ruin him." Richard's throat tightened. "Did she mention your mother?" Amelia nodded. "She said Mommy was too smart for her own good. She said she had to finish the job before Mommy changed her will." The words burned like acid. "I also saw her in your office. She was taking papers from your safe. I was scared, so I used my tablet to take pictures. I thought maybe they'd help you one day." Richard stared at her in awe. Even in fear, his daughter had gathered evidence. The next afternoon, father and daughter stood inside the cold vault of a downtown bank. Richard's hands shook as he unlocked Sarah's safety deposit box with the tiny silver key Amelia had found in her mother's jewelry box. Inside lay papers, medical records, and a thick envelope addressed in Sarah's handwriting. "For Richard, if something happens to me." His hands trembled as he unfolded it. "My dearest Richard, if you're reading this, I was right to fear Victoria. Her real name is Victoria Blackwood. She has been poisoning me slowly. I hired a private investigator, but my strength failed before I could act. Protect Amelia. Protect yourself. Behind the false panel in our bedroom closet, you'll find recordings of her phone calls. She is after Amelia's trust fund. Don't let her win. With all my love, Sarah." Richard's vision blurred as Amelia read along beside him. She squeezed his arm. "Mommy knew." "Yes, Angel." She knew. That evening, Richard met again with Detective Myers and a team of FBI agents. Amelia sat quietly, but her eyes glowed with determination. "She'll want money," Richard explained. "She'll push me into desperation. That's when we can trap her." Amelia raised her hand. "Daddy, I should come too." Richard's heart stopped. "No, it's too dangerous. Please, Daddy, if I'm there, she'll feel like she's winning. She'll brag. She'll say things out loud. That's evidence." The agents exchanged glances. Myers spoke softly. "She's right. Blackwood thrives on arrogance. If she feels in control, she'll talk. With microphones in place, we'll have everything we need." Richard looked into Amelia's steady eyes and saw Sarah's strength reflected there. His voice was heavy with reluctance. "We do this together." 2 days later, Richard and Amelia walked into the coffee shop of the hospital where Sarah had once been treated. Richard carried a briefcase filled with fake transfer documents. Hidden microphones transmitted every word. Agents disguised as doctors and visitors filled the space. Victoria sat in the corner, dressed in black, smiling coldly. "Richard, and little Amelia. How touching." Richard placed the briefcase on the table. "What do you want?" "$75 million, she said smoothly. "I disappear and so does the evidence." Refuse and your empire collapses. I'll take custody of Amelia while you fight federal charges. Amelia's voice cut through the tension. You don't love me. You just want Daddy's money. Victoria leaned closer, her mask slipping. You were an obstacle, child, just like your mother. Weak women with weak blood. Richard forced himself to stay calm. So you admit it, you poisoned Sarah? Her eyes glittered with pride. She was dying anyway. I simply sped it up, efficient, merciful, and you, so blind, so easy to fool. Amelia's hands clenched on her crutches, but her voice stayed firm. You hurt Mommy, you tried to hurt me. But you forgot something, Victoria frowned. What? Amelia pulled out her tablet. I've been recording everything you said, and the police are listening right now. Victoria's face drained. You little brat! She lunged, but before she could touch Amelia, FBI agents surrounded her. Victoria Blackwood, Agent Daniels declared. You're under arrest for murder, conspiracy, and fraud. Handcuffs snapped around her wrists. She spat venom, eyes burning with hate. You think you've won? There are others who know what that child is worth. Amelia lifted her chin. Bad people always lose when good people work together. 6 months later, Richard stood in the garden watching Amelia chase butterflies. Therapy had strengthened her legs. She now walked short stretches without crutches. Her laughter floated across the yard like music. Detective Myers had become a trusted friend. Dr. Reynolds visited often, guiding Amelia with school projects. The once frightened little girl had grown into a confident child, with dreams bigger than her pain. She wanted to create a safe place for kids like her, children who had been hurt but refused to stay broken. As the sun dipped low, Amelia ran to her father. Daddy, I think Mommy Sarah would be proud of us. We're safe now. And I want to help other kids feel safe too. Richard knelt and pulled her into a tight embrace. She would be so proud, Angel. And so am I. The storm Victoria had brought into their lives was gone. In its place stood something unshakable, love, resilience, and a family no darkness could ever destroy. What a journey this was. And it doesn't end here. If you felt every twist of this story, then show your support. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video so more people can hear it. Your support keeps stories like this alive. See you in the next one.